Many thanks for staying with us. Now, the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung will host a discussion next week, Thursday, on the potential of Namibia's youth to strengthen democracy, especially as we approach the commemoration of Constitution Day. Additionally, it will also host a farewell for the outgoing resident representative, who we have the pleasure of having here this morning in the Namibia Connects studios. And she's, of course, none other than Mrs. Natalie Russmann. She's been here in the country overseeing the activities of the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, or the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, if you will. And of course, will be bidding us farewell in a bit. Ms. Russmann, a very good day to you. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very fine, and thanks a lot for having the occasion to be here today at NBC to speak to the nation.
Very much indeed. Of course, we have a two-in-one event occasion happening. That is next week, Thursday. But before we get into the details of that, I'd like to just speak about, your time here in Namibia first and foremost, and of course the work that you've been doing here as resident representative of the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. Let's reflect to, the onset of your contract, what you first made, of the news that you were coming to Namibia, and what you knew about this little country at that point in time. Yeah?
Well, first of all, I can't believe it that time is flying, and my tenure has come to an end. It's been almost 5 years servicing here in Namibia for the Konrad Adenauer Foundation as a resident representative. It has been a beautiful time indeed. I learned a lot. It starts difficulty because I arrived in the middle of the COVID times where we still experience lockdowns. And that was the first experience where I see that, it's been done with a great leadership, how to overcome this pandemic. So that was kind of a start, and we are all relieved when the pandemic was over. So the active work basically started then with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation and in my leadership in executing the activities. And looking back, I think we have done a lot. But I would like also to take the opportunity to thank all the stakeholders from the various institutions, civil society, parliament, government, and academic and economic fraternity, to meet us halfway and to support our work. And this cannot be done with us alone, so it always needs a partner. And they have been doing well, and that way we could move forward our activities, our mandate, which is basically to promote democracy, rule of law, good governance, and sustainable development. So, yes.
Very much indeed. Just going back to the beginning of your reign, I find it so interesting that you began your work in the middle of the pandemic, and we know how brutal that was. And just reflecting on that period and perhaps how that also sort of readied you, for the rest of your tasks and your responsibilities, so to say. What did you make of Namibia during that time, in the manner in which we handled the pandemic, but also how we kept democracy alive, kept the rule of law alive, kept governance alive during that period?
Indeed, I mean, it was a kind of a state of emergency every day almost. So, and experience that it was very well handled by Namibia and its His Excellency, late President Dr. Hage Geingob. There's been announcement every two weeks, and with really a common sense, and that was also guidelines for me. I mean, I was new in the country. I don't know what to decide every day. I have an office. I have a responsibility for about 15 staff members. So that was quite difficult, and also to network. How can you network within the pandemic?
Exactly.
So, but we all learned from the pandemic. We learned to uplift also our technology in terms of digitalizations, our social media, and all these things. So there was enough time to prepare nicely what's then practically executed later on after the pandemic. But indeed, it was difficulty also to settle in the country without knowing anybody. So it was not much I know about Namibia at the time. I mean, I am engaged with Sub-Saharan Africa for almost 16 years now. Nice. With the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. But though Namibia wasn't the main focus of my profession
Yes, when you
previously.
started out, yeah.
So, but I think that is an advantage if you don't know that much, because you have to listen first,
True.
to learn first, to
You
understand.
come with an open mind and
Absolutely,
open perspectives. Yes.
absolutely. You don't have any prejudices.
Yes.
So, and that's also given me the opportunity, to experience the regions, also the way how the people think, how they behave. Every country is different. It's like a book that you have to read, and later you can jump in and have an influence, maybe.
Very much indeed. I'm glad you mentioned, President Geingob, and of course, the manner in which his administration at that time handled the pandemic. Of course, just yesterday we commemorated his 1-year death anniversary since his passing on the 4th of February 2024. Just looking at, the legacy from the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, and of course the legacy of President Geingob, as far as democracy is concerned, as far as rule of law is concerned, good governance is concerned, where do you place the administration, the leadership, the legacy of President Geingob?
I would say the legacy is indeed in his leadership, in seeing that also in economic terms, to see that Namibia needs a kind of sustainable development. What has been done, for instance, in realizing that renewable energy is one sector where Namibia play a prominent role, internationally speaking, as well.
Yeah.
And he was really doing a good job in representing Namibia on the international parquet. So I think this is also very important as an image for Namibia, because when it comes to foreign investment, the image do play a role. That is one thing I see. Also, it's leadership and taking decisions. We all know that the decision can also be wrong or not totally correct, but you have to decide. And that's what I experience. And also kind of humor that's also always within him, and he's a people's person, I would say so. From the little experience I have, and he's like to talk to the ordinary people, and this is something one I can only recommend to politicians, or especially young politicians who is about to making the career in that sector, not to forget where they come from, and to keep connected with the people, because it's the people who elect you, who bring you to that position, and you have to serve the nation, to serve the public needs, and that's the main purpose being a politician, not just a position. We're always thinking about positions in that terms, but it is more than that.
Very well said indeed. Let's get into, of course, what happens to be perhaps your last activity as resident representative of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. Of course, you will be hosting a very important event, a discussion that's looking at the potential of Namibia's youth to strengthen democracy. First and foremost, where do you place Namibia's youth and their role in uplifting and maintaining democracy?
Well, let me mention first of all that the youth is the key aspect when we talk about the future. It will be the future of Namibia will be determined by the youth. Namibia is really a young country. If I'm not mistaken, over 70% of its population is youth, and not only in Namibia, in Africa in general, the continent. So it is a potential, but a burden as well.
Yes.
And but I rather emphasize on the potential than looking too much at the challenges and problems. So the question is how we can encourage and motivate the youth to participate in democracy, but not only in democracy, but also in socio-economic, in the social-economic frame. And it's difficult to make democracy attractive if the majority is somehow like behind. I mean, today I read in a newspaper that the majority only have 1,300 Namibian dollars, or we have an unemployment that is the highest in the SADC. And this is something we just cannot just take it or just put in any speeches. We really need a program or something that really encounter and this problem, because it cannot be that this rich country is full of resources, half of its youth is unemployed or engaged in only in the informal sector.
Yes.
And this is, I know it's difficult. We are a nation with a small market, small population, and industrialization is still something that we have to pursue.
Yes.
And I always say it's not only government who is providing jobs, it's also the private sector.
True.
And there we have to look at more intensively. And also in terms of SME support to bring the capital in terms of funds and resources closer to the youth, that they have an access to it, and then try their very best in the economy.
Yes.
And this is something I would say this is the biggest challenge for Namibia for the future. And I hope that we will succeed in that, and the frame and for that will be improved.
Very much indeed. What do you hope, through this discussion?
Mm-hmm.
What do you hope will be the impact, but also, addressing the real issues? Because, we throw around these figures, and it's really shocking. I think, the fact that Namibia has the highest unemployment rate right now in SADC is concerning, especially when you compare our population sizes to other countries, etc. Talk to us about the contents of this discussion and what impact you'd like to see from this conversation.
Yeah, of course. Also, it shall give an opportunity to bring stakeholders together who have power in that sense.
Yes.
It's also always a opportunity or platform to network for the youth, and also not to let them be frustrated. To see there is a way out. There are opportunities. Sometimes they're little, but you have to take that opportunity.
True. Yes.
Yeah, sometimes there are programs by the Development Bank of Namibia, for instance. They just don't know. So we have to share that information, and this is all about. But it's a kind of motivation, but also bring some expertise in it. Where are areas of job creation in the nation? And for sure, we haven't harvested fully.
No.
In the service, in the sector of servicing, there's a lot. Still in tourism, and not only in mining, which is very special and small, and not only in government, I always say, but much more. I would say there is one have to just try out things as well. No? To be a bit smart. And also what needs to be mentioned is our education system, which needs to be uplifted. It must be conducive to the economic needs of the future. And this is also something that we would like to bring to the point and to bring some expertise during that discussion. So we are trying to invite different stakeholders, these different and various expertise to have a conversation on that. And to bring the feeling that you are not behind. Don't be frustrated.
Yes.
We also know that the rate of suicide is very high in Namibia. This is something I really feel so sorry about, because problems are there to be solved.
True.
And this is just one way out of many others.
Very much, very much. Do you get the sense that Namibia's youth are sort of awakening to their potential, and just from the work that you're doing as a foundation, but also looking at major events like this past election that we had, and of course the massive turnout there from Namibian youth, recording over 70% voter turnout. Is there a realization, slowly but surely, that there can be a more proactive role that young people can play? Do young people are they starting to understand their role in society?
I would say yes. We are very much engaged in radio program, for instance, and when we have audiences or listeners and they're raising questions, for instance, what's the role of parliament? What is election all about? But we still have to bring a lot of information because we have the challenges with the different languages in Namibia. True. That's one point. But I do feel that they're engaged and more interested in democracy at large, and most importantly, this is the message I always bring around, that not to take it for granted. The freedom that we enjoy today, it's of course also out of the liberation movement, but also something that we cannot just enjoy and take for granted. You have to work for it by being actively part of it, and voting is just a minimum. But we can be proud. The turnout over 70%. This is something we can. I know there have been some technical issues during election, but I'm sure Namibia will overcome this. But the high turnout of voters. And I've been really physically part of these days of election, believe me, up there in the north, in Opuo, Kunene, during the entire election process. And I saw all the young people, they're queuing up. They came late, of course, but they were there. And this is something which somehow makes me confident, also for the future of Namibia.
Very much indeed. Ms. Russmann, just lastly, this will be, of course, your final event, a final hurrah, so to say. Just before we let you go, do you have any regrets about your tenure here in Namibia, and what will you miss most about Namibia?
Well, of course, at the end you always say it's too short. I still feel I have so many ideas still, and it's really difficult to leave it behind. It's like you were driving fast and now you have to jump out of the car and then take another car. But as I said, I'm servicing for Konrad Adenauer Foundation. I will just move to another country, but I will maintain my mandate. So it's just a different environment. And it will be also a Commonwealth country. So no, I just hope that Namibia will continue its path. It will improve its economic situation, but I'm pretty confident that it will maintain its democracy, its rule of law, and the separation of powers, which of course still have some loopholes here and there. But I'm really confident that it will be improved, and there's a lot to do still. And I wish the new government all the best for the inauguration. And I'm just happy about the tenure and about the time being in Namibia and being treated well, I must say, from all parts, including the media.